What's up, boys and girls? Lambo here, and today I will show you guys a game against Hydra-Disruptor. And I know a lot of you guys might think, hey Lambo, you've been doing so many PvZ guides, why don't you stop? And to those, I say the reason is because I'm only playing against Protoss on ladder, honestly, and these are the most recent replays. So it's a little bit fitting, I think, that I just brought out a guide with against Voidray High Templar, which isn't really so much a guide, it was more of me looking at a replay and giving you guys an idea of maybe a game plan that you guys could have. So now I'm gonna give you one of the game plans that I'm starting to develop against Voidray Robotics Bay builds, which is one of the options that I mentioned where you kind of have to go late game, so I'm gonna show you guys a late game option here. In a game against maxpax. From a little bit ago. So he went for a fake cannon rush. I pulled the 2 drones immediately. I know on Oxide you can't hold the cannon rush if he actually commits to it, so I just pulled 1 drone to force him to finish the pylons, or start extra pylons if he wants a cannon rush, and then the other drone is to take an earlier hatchery. And since it's a fake cannon rush, we are now fine. Also, if you pull drones, don't rally the extra drones into the gas. Instead, rally to the mineral lines first, and then the drones that are here go into the gas so you don't lose any minerals. Minerals are more important than gas in the early game. I'm gonna just rush over this very, very quickly since I talked so much about the early game in the past days. So we're scouting here. Andy is going Voidray first. We immediately pull back all the overlords. Very important to do this. Lair, second gas. And I'm going Binning Nest. This is one thing that I like very much if I know my opponent is going for a 4-minute third Nexus. There's only really a single build that this has problems, that the Binning Nest is weak against, which is a sentry-based Immortal attack. Where they take a Nexus but they don't make extra probes and then they go for a 6k Immortal Sentry. That can be very hard to hold if the Protoss has very good micro. So we're taking the straight base, not this one, because this one is harder to hold against the Void Rays. Here it's a lot easier. I also very often poke forward with the Zerglings to make sure that I keep track of where the Void Rays are going. And we have 5 queens here to deter the Void Rays to be safe. And we're just making drones right now. And for now I'm just going 88 drones Hydra-Bane. I saw that he is taking a base here, and I also scouted the Disruptor. So as I said before in the previous video, you guys should be scouting with Overseers for what your opponent is doing, but I do it with Zerglings. I think it's easier to remember to do it with Overseers and Zerglings, obviously. I feel like you guys, if you guys send in Zerglings, you're just not going to look at them very often as well, so... So one of the things that I like to do against Disruptor is I go for a Spire right away. And what that does is I don't actually think heavy Hydra counts are very important against Void Rays in straight up fights. And it's more important to have more gas for early Vipers against this, because if they go Disruptors and they also go High Templars, you can go to up to very high drone counts, by the way, around 100. If they go for Disruptors and they also have High Templars, you can just kill the High Templars with Banelings. If they have Disruptors and High Templars, that means there are no Archons and there's nothing to zone out the Banelings, which means, I mean, that's just not a viable composition to attack with. So that's why we can go to a very high drone count. And since there are no High Templars with this, I mean, because he has so many tech units, also this is not a great army to attack, but the Vipers can abduct everything for free. If they were High Templars, I would roll forward and more of a couple extra Banelings. Right? So now we have this Hydra-Bane force. I honestly wanted to make less Hydras, but I forgot that I already had a bunch in my main base. I wanted to go for 19 is okay. Maybe 16 or something would have been a little bit better. So now we roll forward. We delay him a little bit. We're trying to buy time for the Vipers. Split. And now I could have pushed the issue a lot harder. I should have abducted every single Archon right now. And I actually clicked the Archons, but I was over this ledge. If you're ever in a dead airspace, or where there's no ground below the Vipers, the abduct just doesn't work. So the Vipers were staying here. I should have move commanded them forward. I could have gotten all 5 Archons for sure. Here. That was... yeah, It was not very manly what I did there. Okay, so now we're taking a 5th base, and now it has to be said that this is Oxide, where every player basically has 6 bases. It's very hard to take a base from your opponent, and it's also very hard to deny bases in general. And now what the main point of this video is against this you guys can go late game with a lot of drones, but I will show you guys how to play this late game, and this might be high level to do, but I think this is one of the easier ways of playing it, where you don't need to rely too much on especially in faster Viper control until later on. I want you guys to just get upgrades early on, because you need to realize that the Protoss can't attack with this sort of army. So I'm investing a lot into tech right now, and I'm checking for abducts. We lose a lot of Zerglings because I didn't see that Nova coming in. And right now I'm trying to get Ultras. And Ultras are very good against this army. His army is 2-0 upgraded. The Ultras have 2-2. And he has 0 Immortals right now. Now he does obviously have a Robo, but when they play this style they usually have a single Robo. So they can't just all of a sudden make 10 Immortals. And I don't want to go too much into the details about this game, because I want to talk mostly in this video about how army compositions work. And how, if you're not actually afraid of playing the late game, if you don't constantly feel the need to attack because you actually know that you can win a fight, that late game is not that difficult to play, necessarily. Against these styles, at least. Against the styles that start with ground and then go into Skytoss, it's a lot harder. But against this straight up Skytoss styles, it's very easy to just win straight up fights. So what we want to do is, we want to get rid of these Hydras now, and we want to get enough Corruptors to one-shot carriers, and at the same time we want to get a couple extra Ultras, because I'm also very often scouting for his army with like changelings. I'm also checking for his army. I see they are immortal, so now I know I need more Ultras. And now usually I would still be at 90 drones easily, but on this map in particular, I think you should start going to lower drone counts earlier on to start being able to take fights and maybe try to deny this base. He does this right here. Not sure why the Corruptors didn't kill that. I was looking at something else. Apparently. So now he's taking this base. I don't have any Zerglings to run by, which is a little bit sad. We're losing some stuff here. But what I wanted to show you guys is that this is not a very complicated army to build. I have enough Corruptors to one-shot a carrier. You need 21 Corruptors to one-shot a carrier. I have 23, and I have enough Ultras. Other than that, I'm just trying to get enough Ultras to kill this army. And this looks very scary, right? He has 4 Archons, 5 Immortals, and a bunch of High Templars, and a couple of Disruptors. But you can actually just A-move this if you have superior upgrades. We have 3-3 against 3-0. And we're on creep. Being on creep is very important. So now we go in. And what I want to show you guys is that all you need to micro with this army composition is your Corruptors. Obviously the Ultras are being A-moved. And all you really need to look at is where the High Templars stand. And to be sure that you're always out of abduct range. See, this is the abduct range. I'm always out of abduct range during the entirety of this fight. I'm just dancing around it. It's not important to engage early on with the Corruptors, but if you play against a Skytoss player, especially someone that might not be as good as maxpax, they might not have any Immortals, and then you can just A-move the Ultras in first, and then after the High Templars are dealt with, you can then go in and try to take fights. While the Ultras are fighting the carriers, you can abduct units one by one, but just make sure to be outside of the range of the High Templar. So this was a very good trade, but we lost this base, which is a little bit annoying. And now, since we won the fight, we can deny this base. This is obviously the next step. He's doing some Zealot run-bys, which are annoying. But the main play right now is obviously to deny this base. And now that I know that he's making a lot of Immortals, the obvious switch is to go into Broodlords. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to go into Broodlords. You also see, just to be safe, I overmade Ultras here. Make sure that if he actually just attacks, we can fight. But now that I saw how big his ground army was, instead I'm going for counter attacks. I'm giving up the bases. Again, this is just... we're gonna mine this later on anyways. You don't need to worry too much about defending bases necessarily. Just try to craft your army. And when you have your army, look the way you want it to look. So if you have the right unit composition, and you think you have a better unit composition, with this style, you can then decide to engage with into the Protoss, and it should be relatively easy. For example, this army is very bad against Broodlords. Very, very bad against Broodlords. He barely has any air units left, right? It's just an anti-Ultralisk army. So now that we see that he overmade ground, we go into Broodlords. So we run away and we make a lot of Broodlords. Right now, 13 Broodlords. And you don't need to be too worried about killing the carriers. I see that there are not that many carriers. I know it's very scary to morph most of your characters into Broodlords. But I want you guys to know that it's most important to kill the ground. If I have 30 Corruptors and I kill this, I will never win against the ground army, and I will just lose the Corruptors afterwards or lose bases afterwards. No matter what, so... We're finding DCTs. He's been running around with us for a while. I will obviously include the replay where you guys can go more in depth, but I wanted to mostly talk about unit compositions, and now we can talk a little bit about how the army splits and how we logically deal with it. So now he obviously has his main big army here, and we need the Broodlords for that. And then the Ultras are attacking here a little bit. He doesn't really have much against the Ultras here, and now that we see the big army is here, you see how I'm trying to mirror it with the Broodlords? I saw that he's bunching up a bunch of his ground units here with his main army. That means the Ultras are fine to defend the left side. I would have loved to take this base, but he did a good job at denying it. But I know if there is this many units here, you know what I can do? I can try to engage here. And if your opponent does not have Tempest, you can simply engage with this many Broodlords and try to pick him apart, basically. And now here we trade with the Ultras against the Immortal Archon, which Ultras are decent, for sure, especially with its on-creep. Ultras are bad then when the opponent can just stand behind the buildings all game long. But it's not the case here, because he needs to deny this base actively, right? Since we're denying this one. And at this point our army is just much better than his, and we can start abducting units. Bring down Parasitic Bomb. Always put one Parasitic Bomb in to wherever the Void Rays are. And now we Fungal plus Parasitic Bomb and we finally engage. I fully engaged with the Corruptors once I realized there are no Archons left or anything else. So overall we traded very well here, and this was mostly due to our army composition being better than his. It's not so much that the micro was super difficult in this game either. Obviously it is hard to have this many army control groups. In this case I'm only using 4 right now, because I don't really have that many ground units. I only have these Zerglings. This is my ground army, so I also don't have a run by. I have one Overseer as a run by defense for the DTs, but I don't have an actual army right now. So I'm really just using an Infestor hotkey, a Corruptor hotkey, Bruiser hotkey. Also all my queens are dead, so I don't have queen hotkeys. So this is like 4 hotkeys, which I know is very hard already, but if you guys play games and you're against very passive players with Skytoss, you guys can outmine them, and then when you're ready to fight, you build your Ultralisk army, and then just try to engage, kill the High Templars, then go in with the Corruptor Viper. Then after, very often they might switch into Immortals, and then you can go into Broodlords and do the same thing. You can actually just straight up engage if they have a bad army against what you have. So there's a lot of switching back and forth between Ultras and Broodlords, which I think is very, very powerful. And yeah, I know I've talked a lot about late game in the past few videos, but to be entirely honest, I've been experimenting a lot with it myself right now, because this Disruptor Void Ray style in particular is very strong defensively against a lot of different builds. So That's why I'm trying a lot with late game. So if you guys want to see me, watch me play these games live, you can check out my stream, twitch.tv/Lambo, obviously, with a bunch of late games. Today, I try to play like one a day, because to be honest with you guys, it brings up the viewer numbers. People like watching the late games. Big fights with a lot of tension build up throughout the game. But yeah, this is what I think you guys can do against people that just go straight up Skytoss, not even necessarily Disruptors, straight up Skytoss, and also against people that go for Disruptors. Make a lot of drones, get good upgrades, straight up rush to the tech you want, Viper, Corruptor, Ultra, A-move, Parasitic Bomb, Loco Maneuver, and then if they have way too many ground units so your Ultras don't work, go into Brutalize. I know it's very hard to do, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out if you actually tried it a bunch. At least the guys that are in the Masters Plus. I think there is potential for you guys to learn this type of playstyle. If you don't want to all in every game, I'm just giving you other options. Also, usually we do Try Hard Thursday today, which would be my POV from the stream, recorded, and then myself talking over it, but sadly I forgot today that it's Thursday basically, and I was commentating all the games on my stream. So if you want to check that out anyways, you can check it on my stream. So that's it for me, and I'm gonna try to do more non-PvZ videos, but like 80% of my games are against Protoss, so I don't get many good non-PvZ games, so that's the reason for that. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.